Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. I am back from the land of the dead and the dying. Back from my medical debacle. Yeah, it's fun stuff. We'll talk about it. I'm just playing some Super Metroid here because it's really a very chill game. Also, I just woke up from a nap, so nothing too crazy. This week on this channel, I'm sure there were some gaps in there, but there was definitely... Let's see, Dominions. Yep, that was all scheduled, so that was no problem. Dominions always continues. Fire Emblem. And it seems now every time I upload a Fire Emblem playthrough, it gets picked up by the algorithm a little bit. And I get these floods of comments comparing me to some Fire Emblem YouTuber named Mangg, I guess. I don't know. Apparently someone said that my channel is actually older than his. So, sort of the why should I be the one to change? He's the one who sucks sort of thing, I guess. I don't know. It just happens like every time now. So Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, Iron Man, and what else? What was the other game? Oh, Solo Roll Mangg. That's right. That's pretty much going to continue for this week. Dominions, Fire Emblem, Solo Roll Mangg. As you can imagine, I didn't really record much this week. I'd like to record. I'd love to record, though, so pretty soon here. I think I'll be recording some RimWorld, probably. That's another pretty chill game that would be nice right now. I'll be honest, I am a little tempted to just play RimWorld and not record it. But I want to play the new DLC, and I really like to have my sort of initial impressions on recording. So I'll record when I'm ready. Yeah, over on the Exploring series, nothing. Not a damn thing. Which is also the case for tomorrow. This is unprecedented since the Exploring series started. I've never gone 2 weeks without a video. But, you know, we live in unprecedented times. That's all there is to say about that, I guess. Alright, so I also didn't play D&D this week. Because I was in the hospital when we were supposed to be playing D&D. But didn't work out. Right, so last Monday, this would have been about 13 days ago now. I started getting a stomach pain. And not like a severe one or anything. Like, this was almost never severe. I mean, I like to think I have a pretty solid pain tolerance. But yeah, I mean, I would describe it as like a 3 or a 4 or something. The thing, it never went away, ever. Like, there was literally nothing you could do to sort of help it. There were only 2 things that really helped. One was, like, sitting down in a hot shower. And thankfully, I have a really nice shower. It has, like, you know, 2 heads. So it has one regular head that's just, like, a normal shower. And then one that's on, like, a wand. So that I could actually, like, I could sit there on the floor of the shower and just hold one wand and just kind of, like, keep moving it around. So I was sitting on the floor of the shower, but I never really got cold, really. It was just kind of nice. That, for whatever reason, that was the only thing that really just kind of helped, was just sitting there. I couldn't lay down. Laying down made it worse. Laying down on my side especially made it really worse. Standing wasn't too bad, but how long do you want to just fucking stand when you're in pain? But obviously that makes sleeping pretty tricky. And so that was the big thing. Like, I wasn't ever really, like, delirious or in excruciating pain or anything like that, but I just, like, could never sleep and was just kind of in this constant, dull amount of pain. The other thing that helps, which is not nearly as good of a thing to help, was drinking alcohol. Now, I never drink alcohol, like, ever. I don't like the taste of it. You know, like, in the words of George Costanza, there's no way wine is better than Pepsi. I don't like the taste of it, and it just hits me really hard. It just makes me extremely tired. And I just kind of, like, I'm non-functional. I just fall asleep. Which, in this case, is, like, exactly what I want. And this happened before. This sort of nagging pain in the stomach, like, 6 months ago. And it went away after about, like, 5 days. So I was like, okay, this is shit. I don't know what it is. Like, nothing helps. Tried all sorts of, like, Gas X and Pepto-Bismol and, all sorts of different stuff. Nothing really helps. I don't know what it is, but hopefully it'll just go away in a few days. So I really didn't want to drink any alcohol, even though I knew that it would kind of relieve pain and I could sleep. So I held off for a while, but then around like Thursday or something, I'm just like, I need to get some sleep. And so I just started this kind of little mini routine. I basically pound like 3 or 4 shots of whiskey or rum or brandy. Brandy is really fucking vile. I don't know who drinks that shit. This is just stuff that I have around the house. People have brought for parties and stuff. So I'd pound like 3 or 4 shots worth. That's an estimate. I really have no idea. And that would just like immediately get me, hammered. And then I'd pass out for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'd get up, I'd sit in the shower for like 45 minutes or an hour or something, and then I'd pound some more shots, pass out for another couple hours, so on and so forth. And that's basically how my nights went, so I could actually sleep something. It's not pleasant, but I was really just like, okay, this is gonna go away soon, right? It's gonna go away soon. The other thing that it does is just like, you have no appetite. Like, you have no interest in food, you have no hunger of any kind. I drank a decent amount of liquids and stuff, but yeah, food was not happening. And then, so that went on, and I made a couple of mistakes. And obviously I can see, like, where I went wrong now. It's like Wednesday evening, I was actually starting to feel a little better. I was actually starting to get an appetite. And I was just like, you know what I would really just love is like, I don't like a beef stew or something. I didn't have the ingredients for beef stew. What I should have done is ordered the ingredients for beef stew and made it. But I went on DoorDash. They don't sell beef stews on DoorDash. No place around here has any stew of any kind, which really bums me out. But I saw chili. And it's like, okay, well, that's sort of similar. I must have been drunk. Because they're not similar. And that was not a good idea. So I ordered chili from this place. And I also ordered a sandwich because I was like, I'm hungry. This was not a good idea. This was a big mistake. This is a big mistake. Number 1, I guess. So I got that. I started eating it. And then pretty much I like relapsed, you know. And went right back into the depths of pain and misery. That was Wednesday. So then time went on again. You know, this cycle continued. Like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And Sunday, I started to feel better. Actually, I think Saturday night it was okay, because I think we did Two Brothers Play that night. It was okay, and I think I got, I think we got, like, Buffalo Wild Wings, and I got just, like, this chicken Caesar salad, which they didn't give me any dressing, but it was okay. So I was, like, starting to get better. Still not better, though. Sunday, and then Monday. But I was, like, eating food again. Then Tuesday rolls around, and we had sort of this, we were gonna go out to eat Tuesday. And I was still not, like, 100%. My stomach was still really, like, very gurgly and stuff, but I just didn't like, I don't like people to coddle over me and, like, know that I'm sick and stuff, and just, yeah, I just don't like that. So I didn't really want to tell my mom, like, hey, I'm not really 100%, I don't think I should go out. So I was just like, okay, we'll go out. This was mistake number 2. In the end, it worked out, but this was mistake number 2. We went to this local restaurant called The Local, actually. It's really, like, right next to my house, and I've never been. It looks literally just like somebody's house. But, yeah, we went there, and I decided to get the chicken wing. Because they just sounded kind of good. Let me tell you, these were the best wings I've ever had in my life. And honestly, worth sort of everything that followed, I think. They were extremely good. It was like a sriracha garlic glaze or whatever. Like, it was just really, really good. But yeah, so I ate those, and it was all kind of fun. It was just like, okay, damn, this is amazing. Yes, this is so good. And then I actually brought some home for leftovers later that night. I ate the few leftover wings. Super good. And that would be the last solid food that I would end up eating for about 57 hours. Because after that, I relapsed on my symptoms again. And so all of Tuesday into Wednesday, didn't get any sleep. The entirety of that Wednesday was just like this blur, you know, like just this haze. Of just like drinking alcohol and passing out in the shower. And Wednesday afternoon was like the most severe pain. It was kind of insane. Like, it was like a 9 or something. And, like, as it turns out, I think, yeah, as it turns out, my gallbladder was inflamed. Like, that's what we eventually found out. I think that was, like, the moment closest to my gallbladder, like, bursting or something. So that was the moment I think I came closest to dying this week. Which is a fun thought. Yeah, that one, it was just, I was in the shower and it was just like, I couldn't even, like, breathe. And I was just, like, slamming brandy. Until I eventually, I like, literally, the brain just, like, shut down. I passed out for, like, 2 hours in the shower. So that was great. Fun times. So yeah, Wednesday passed by, and I'm just like, I just, please let this pain just stop. Just let it go away. Why is it not going away? And obviously I kept, like, re-inflaming my gallbladder, so it wasn't ever gonna go away. I didn't know that at the time. I still had no idea what it was. Because it was a very just, like, kind of non-specific pain, just, like, somewhere deep in your gut, your abdomen. And I don't know what a fucking gallbladder does. Who does? It would never have came up in my thoughts. Partway through Wednesday, I actually went on, like, Grok, and I just put in my symptoms. And it's just like, go to the hospital now. And at that time, I was like, I don't know. What does AI really know? My family's just very historically not been big on doctors, medicine, hospitals. Not out of, like, fear or anything. It's just like we just don't like the hassle. Me and my mom specifically are very just anti-hassle in all things. Even when, like, when it comes to, like, returning stuff. Like, if we get a Christmas gift or something that needs to return, we'll probably just leave it. And just, it's just not worth the hassle. So we're not anti-doctor, we're anti-hassle. If I get the wrong meal at a restaurant, even if, like, completely the wrong thing, I probably wouldn't even say anything. It's like, whatever. Who needs the hassle? So that's where I'm coming from here. Most people would just be like, why the fuck would you not go on to the doctor on, like, day 3? That just, like, it went away before. I just kept on hoping it would go away and I could avoid the hassle. But alas, I could not. And so Thursday, Wednesday night comes by into the wee hours of Thursday morning, and I'm still just, like, in pain, can't get any sleep. And I'm like, I just don't want to drink anymore because I feel like I'm doing damage to my liver, which, as it turns out, I was. But without the drinking, like, I just can't do anything. I'm just in, like, misery. And so at, like, 6:30, I tried calling my mom to tell her that I need to go to the hospital. She wasn't awake, so I called my aunt, who was awake. So I ended up going into urgent care around 8 a.m. And I talked to a registered nurse there. And you know, it's, God, that started this whole rigmarole. The hassle. Started the hassle. Because you have to, like, explain all your shit to a registered nurse first. And I understand why it works this way, but yeah, it was the hassle. So you explain all your shit to this registered nurse. Punches all of his notes into the system. And it's like, maybe the registered nurse knows what's going on right away and can just solve it. But in this case, obviously not. So Then comes in a little while later a nurse practitioner who actually had like a trainee with her. And then you have to re-explain all your shit to the nurse practitioner, even though you just took all these notes from the nurse. Like, okay, fine. So the nurse practitioner is asking all these questions. You know, it's really like kind of intense questioning. I mean, again, I get it, like they're trying to figure it out. But it's like, you're asking me like specific timetables about shit, and it's like, the last 48 hours have been one hazy blur. I have no idea. But so yeah, she asked a bunch of questions, and she felt up my belly a bit. And again, like, nothing really was hurting. Like, my pain at that point was like a 3, maybe. But I did, when she did press on certain parts of the belly, it did hurt a little bit more, and I was like, that seems good. Like, that seems like a really good thing right now for them to be able to diagnose. So I was happy that it did actually hurt a bit more when pressed on certain spots. Nurse practitioner leaves. Comes back a while later. The nurse comes back a while later and says, okay, they're gonna move you to the emergency room. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound great, but okay. I guess it's progress. It's a hassle, but it's progress. And they ask if I need a wheelchair, and I'm like, no, you know. And it's sort of those, like, it's probably a phenomenon, right? Where I just felt kind of bad. It's like, I don't need all this fuss. Like, I'm really not in that bad a shape. Like, I'm taking up time or something that other people probably need more. I certainly don't need a freaking wheelchair or anything like that. But, you know. So no, I walked down to the emergency room. Including the staircase. Get down to the emergency room. I get a nice wristband. I get a hospital gown put on. It's starting to feel real official. And I'm just like, I realized at that point, I was like, okay, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So I felt bad for my aunt because she drove me, and now she was just kind of there the whole time. Like, this is like hours and, you know, multiple hours. We're just kind of sitting there. So eventually she was allowed to come back and just kind of sit in the room with me. But then I had to run through my symptoms again. Like, twice more. Once for the nurse down in the emergency room. And then again for the doctor down there. But I was happy because my doctor was a young Asian guy named Dr. Wu. That's the kind of doctor you want, I feel. This guy, you know, he's worked very hard to make his parents proud. He's gonna know his shit. So I felt I was in good hands. You know, if it's like some 80-year-old white guy that comes shambling in, I don't know, I just don't feel as confident. So they put me into a CAT scan, which I had never had. I've never been in a hospital before in my life. Again, anti-hassle. So this was my first CAT scan. And that was kind of... It was a little embarrassing. They let me keep my shorts on, which was really nice. I appreciate that. But I was still in, like, this backless gown. And I get, you know, wheeled into the CAT scan. And they take your whole fucking bed in there. And the 3 CAT scan, like, technicians are all, like, these young, attractive nurses. Female nurses. And then they make me, like, they made me pull my shorts down to my knees. And it's just like, this is that hassle. That hassle I was talking about. Embarrassing hassle. Not like returning a shirt to Kohl's or something hassle. But that's like what you know. What are you gonna do? You're not gonna argue. Yeah, the CAT scan was pretty quick. That one, I barely remember it now. They injected me with some like fluid in my arm. My arm's fucked up, by the way. Like the crook of my right arm where they like took blood like 3 times and injected multiple things. I had an IV there and it's fairly fucked up looking. But yeah, they injected me with something and then they spilled a bunch of it on my arm and it's like sticky. So that was kind of not great, but yeah. So then we had to wait a couple hours for the results of the scan and everything. It wasn't too bad. But I wasn't allowed to eat anything and I wasn't allowed to drink anything. And that's where it got really bad because I had not eaten anything at this point for a good number of hours since, you know, Tuesday night. So it had already been like 30 some hours. And when I went in there, it wasn't really bothering me because I was in pain. And like I guess my inflamed gallbladder was just kind of suppressing my appetite and I didn't want to eat anything. But now they put me on painkillers when I went in. They put me on, you know, like the industrial painkillers or whatever, which I didn't really ask for. It felt a little overkill for when I said my pain was like a 3. The pain did go away, but the problem was now I was fully aware of my hunger. And I was fucking starving. So I was sitting there and just, yeah, like the hungriest I've been in like a year. But they couldn't give me any food because they didn't know what was going to be the problem or anything like that. So they get the results of the CAT scan and they find out that, of course, my gallbladder is lit up like a Christmas tree. Completely inflamed. And so, yeah, the doctor's just like, yep, that's gonna have to come out. So I had to get transferred to a hospital. The other thing was that my liver was like really, like, the levels of my liver were really elevated. Now, of course, you'd say, well, that's because I was drinking like a fucking Andre the Giant. Which is true, but apparently that can also happen if a gallstone sort of gets trapped in like the bile duct, which can often happen when you have an inflamed gallbladder and you have gallstones. And I did have gallstones. Like, they were definitely inside the gallbladder, but they just weren't sure if there was one in the duct. It didn't show up on the CT scan, but my liver levels were elevated. And so they needed to really be sure about this, because that would be a separate operation to remove that before they remove the gallbladder. So I had to wait for a while because they had to find a bed for me in one of the hospitals. And apparently hospitals are pretty busy right now. It took a while for them to get me a bed, and the only one they could get me is in a hospital about 30 minutes away. So they offered to just have me go in an ambulance. But look, this is America. Ambulances aren't free. So my mom said she would just drive me. There were a couple moments where I wish I had been in an ambulance because the ambulance would have known exactly where to go. And not drive around in the hospital parking lot for like 5 minutes. But I got there. And so we get to the big hospital. Not that big of a hospital. And we go into, you know, admitting and stuff, and they make me go in a wheelchair. I have to go in a wheelchair to get to my room. There wasn't really like an argument, you know, there's no negotiating there. I had to go in a wheelchair. It's just policy. But it's funny because I was with my mom, and my mom is just coming off of chemo for her cancer, and she can't really walk that well. And so she was joking like that she needs the wheelchair more than I do, which was definitely true. I walked into the hospital. I definitely could have walked. I wasn't feeling great, but I could. But we get to the room. And again, I'm just like starving. And then begin to see, yeah, the whole hospital experience, which is something. There's a lot of people that work at a hospital, you know, and there's people working around the clock and stuff. So, you know, I ended up, over the course of my stay, being introduced to, like, I don't know, like 6 different nurses that were responsible for me. And then I got introduced to, like, 8 different doctors, I would guess. Like, there was doctors of medicine, there was like, GI doctors, there was surgeons, there was, like, surgical techs, it was just, like, crazy. And this was for, like, one little, like, the most routine operation they do. And they all have to go around to these rooms and just say, like, hey, I'm going, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I had to explain my symptoms, like, 6 more times to all these different doctors. It was wild. And most of these doctors, actually, I don't know if I saw any of those doctors ever again. You know? Like, when I ended up going in for surgery, like, everyone was masked up and it was all very kind of chaotic and quick. And so I don't know if I recognized anyone that came into my room before. They all kind of introduced themselves to me in the operating room anyways. So I don't know if I saw any doctor ever again. And then, yeah, it's just a funny thing of, like, again, I've never been in a hospital before. They ask you your last name and your date of birth. Constantly. Like, everything. Like, everything is just, that is the universal, like, key for anything that you need done or have to have happen to you or anything. And it happens all, like, you'll never get an 8-hour block of sleep in a hospital, like, ever. Which seems funny. But yeah, like, I got woken up at 2:30 a.m. because I needed antibiotics, like, replaced. And so I just get woken up at 2:30 a.m. and it's like, oh, can you tell me your last name, your date of birth? And it's like, surely you have this information. Like, I mean, I get it. It's like this, you know, verification system and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, to make sure I'm still cognizant. I don't know. But yeah, it was just funny getting woken up at 2:30 just for that. It's like, can't you just make one exception here? No. But then, like, even if you get, like, little food delivered or something, if you get, like, a cup of water delivered. No, it wasn't water. But, like, if you got apple juice delivered, Can I get your last name, date of birth, please? But yeah, so yeah. I was there for one day. I was there for about 28 hours in the hospital. No, maybe a little less. No, that sounds about right. And so the first thing they want to do is order an MRI. Another thing, of course, I've never had. Because they really wanted to just be absolutely sure if I had a gallstone in my duct or not. So I got the MRI done, and I was happy because they told me that after I had the MRI done, I could eat. Because they weren't going to do the surgery tonight no matter what. It was already too late. So after I got the MRI done, I could eat. I was very excited. So, yeah, the MRI was similar to the CAT scan, a lot longer. You know, it takes like half an hour, 40 minutes or something like that. And probably like the best place to sleep in that entire hospital. Like, if you're not claustrophobic, and I'm definitely not claustrophobic, you're just like in this very warm, cozy tube. And they put like headphones on you, and they were just playing like classic rock music, very like kind of lightly. And it's just very easy to nod off. But you're not allowed to nod off. Because occasionally they give you like these breathing instructions of like, okay, well, breathe in and hold it, and you know. And it's really funny because I was very tired, and it was very cozy, and so occasionally I would just hear like, okay, you may begin breathing normally. And it's like, what? Wait, what? I've been breathing normally. Apparently that didn't matter too much that I fucked up a couple of the breathing instructions, though. They didn't notice anything on their end. They also never really told me the results of the MRI. I had to specifically ask, like, right before my surgery. So that was a little bit of a lack of communication, I guess, surprisingly. But it turns out I did not have gallstone in the duct. My liver was fucked up entirely of my own doing. So afterwards, after the MRI, then I was allowed to eat. And my nurse went and double checked and everything, came back, and she said, okay, you're allowed to have clear fluids. Like, what? Bitch, you can't eat clear fluids? So I was allowed to have chicken broth and, like, apple juice. Despite not really being food, it hit, I'll tell you that. Like, I was so starving for any form of calories or anything, so it still was not bad. So then I was in, overnight, and it was pretty shitty, because I didn't have, like, anything. I had my phone, but I didn't have my charger. Apparently they would have charged it for me, I guess, but I just didn't want to hassle. I didn't want to hassle them. I didn't have my Steam Deck. And the problem was that this hospital was pretty far away from the rest of my family and stuff, so they didn't really want to make a bunch of trips. So they were going to bring my Steam Deck in the morning, but it was like, I'll probably be out of here. You know, like, the surgery's probably going to be right in the way in the morning. So it was just a really long, boring night. Stuck with cable. And I haven't watched cable television in like 20 years. And it was a great reminder of why I don't. Because it was just shit. You have just like constant commercials, like, my god. It just never ends. And they do play, there's a lot of channels that play a lot of movies. So, I mean, I wasn't really like short on choices, I guess. But yeah, then the movies are like censored and just chopped up, and just so many commercials and just ugh. So it was not super pleasant. I tried watching some Food Network. That channel has really just gone down the fucking tubes, man. When I was growing up, Food Network was my favorite channel. It had, you know, Good Eats. And it had Emerald Lagasse. You know, Essence of Emerald and stuff. That was great. It had Iron Chef. It had just a lot of, like, fucking cooking programs, you know? Like the old school, the person stands in the kitchen and cooks a meal. That's what I want out of the Food Network. That's it. And then even when I was like 19 or something or so, I started to break away from it because they just went in with a lot of like travel shows. You know, like Guy Fieri shit and stuff like that. That started to become the new hotness. And then after that, they really went in big on competition. Like competition shows just started taking over. And I remember they had a big one of their own, the next Food Network star or whatever. And I remember watching the first couple seasons of that, and it was I thought it was pretty good at the time. But then, yeah, they just never stopped. And I thought the first few seasons of Chopped, when that came out, I thought that was pretty good. But it just kept going and kept going. It's just like they started to replace all their all the cooking shows with just competition. And sure enough, I turned on Food Network, and it's like fucking kids baking competition. It's like, oh my god. The Great British Bake Off has done more damage to food television than any other program. That's my honest opinion. I don't like baking. I don't like baked goods. I don't really care for any of that. And I certainly don't want to watch any part of television. So I was a little upset. Especially fucking kids baking competition. So you don't even get like, you know, Hell's Kitchen or something where Gordon Ramsay calling somebody a fucking donkey. It's oh kids, oh this was so good, except if you just it just needed to be a little sweeter, and fuck off. Anyways, so it was kind of a long night. I got some sleep here and there, but I was hungry, and then I was also very thirsty. Because around 2 a.m. they cut off my water. Because you're not allowed to have any water before surgery either. And it was just like, when they took away my water cup, man, I thought, this place is so kind. Everyone here is so kind, and yet it's also a place of such cruelty. So yeah, by like 8 a.m., I was so fucking thirsty. I mean, they had me on IV the entire time, so I was on fluids, but it was like a bare minimum, like, maintenance sort of fluid thing. So, yeah, it certainly didn't help with my thirst. But yeah, around 7 a.m., they started popping in a lot more. Some more surgical techs and things like that came in, and blah, blah, blah. And I was glad to see him, because I was like, get me the hell out of here. So I had my surgery at 8 a.m. And, by that point, like, the inflammation, I think, had gone down quite a lot. So I wasn't really in any pain or anything. And they came in right before the surgery, and they were, like, feeling my belly, and there was, like, no pain. It's like, again, I had that feeling of, like, I feel kind of bad. You're having to go through all the trouble. I'm not even in any pain, but obviously it was gonna inflame again, so it had to come out. So thankfully, I didn't need to have the second surgery to remove the gallstone that could have been in my duct, because that would have been a whole. I would have had to stay an extra day or something like that. It would have been a whole extra thing. Thankfully, I was just an alcoholic. Right, so I got wheeled into the operating room, and there was a lot of people in there, all masked up. They all introduced themselves. They're giving me their names, and it's like, okay, we all know I'm not going to remember any of this in like 12 seconds. But, okay, sure. And I was excited, because I've heard a lot about anesthesia. And I was excited for that anesthesia experience where they put the mask on or whatever, and you have to count down. And they told me that beforehand. They're like, okay, they're going to put that on. You got to count down from 10. You're going to get to like 9 or 9.5 or something, and you're going to fall asleep. I was like, okay, I've heard a lot about that experience. I'm excited. I got robbed of it. I'm sure it happened. I just don't have any memory. Like, I remember being on the operating table. I remember them saying, like, okay, we're going to put a mask on you now. And then I remember waking up blearily in the recovery room. I do not remember anything being put on my face. I do not remember counting anything down. So it was like a fucking amnestic, man. It just wiped it out. So I didn't even make it to 10. Didn't even make it to the anesthesia went through time and space and just fucked me up before it even hit me. But yeah, so I woke up very, very, very groggy in the recovery room. Man, it's like the groggiest I've ever been. Took me a while. And there was like, I don't know, it seemed like kind of there was an issue. They took an x-ray of my chest afterwards. I guess I was having some trouble breathing or something like that. But yeah, eventually I got wheeled back to my room. And yeah, I mean, I was feeling okay, I guess. And I was finally allowed to eat real food. Oh my god. I got like a grilled chicken sandwich and some fruit and a Sprite. And oh my god, it was like, can't describe to you how good it was. That fruit, especially when those grapes hit. Oh man. Insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, so that was very good. And then yeah, it was basically just like kind of slowly recovering for a little bit. My oxygen, I guess, was a little low. So I had to keep doing these like breathing exercises. But yeah, eventually they're like, okay, you seem good. You can go home if you want. And so I walked out of the hospital and went home. And that was at like, I think I got home around 4-ish or something. Maybe 4:30. My surgery was at 8. So, yeah, not too bad. So they gave me extra strength. Come on. They gave me extra strength Tylenol. Take some every like 5 hours. And then they gave me oxycodone. Ooh, so scary. So yeah, they told me just take that as needed once every 6 hours. And I'm not really a drug guy. I didn't really plan on using any of it. I know it can be addictive, and I'm not really the type to get addicted or anything like that, but you know, I appreciated having it. But then, yeah, like, later that evening, my arm was just, like, in excruciating pain. Like, more pain in my arm than anything from my stomach, pretty much, except maybe that one time. And I guess this is something to do with them pumping in CO2 or something during the operation. It can have some effect on your diaphragm, or I don't know. They explained it. My arm hurt a little bit while I was there, so the nurse kind of explained it. I don't remember. But I guess it's not super uncommon. She was not too surprised. But man, it fucking hurt. So I tried to go to bed that night, and I just literally could, like, not lay down without, like, crying. So yeah, I popped the Oxy. And yeah, that shit does work. No doubt. I slept. I've taken a couple more since then, but I think I'm kind of good now. So. But they told me to just keep taking the Tylenol every 5 hours. And I'm okay doing that, I suppose. Like right now, sitting here playing games, I'm not at zero pain. I can definitely... It turns out having your stomach sliced open in multiple locations does hurt a little bit for a little while. But yeah, that's it. That's the story. It was quite a debacle. It was quite the hassle. I'm glad I did it because it had to be done, but yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, obviously no Exploring Series video tomorrow. And I probably should be good this week to start working again. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine there's going to be too many issues. If I hadn't missed last week's video, I'd be like, okay, maybe I could finagle my way out of skipping this week and just relaxing, but I already have missed 2 video uploads now, so no rest for the weary. It's not that bad. I mean, it wasn't that major of surgery. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's all I have to say, really. So, more Fire Emblem this week. More solo role manging this week. Hopefully some new RimWorld being recorded this week. And, of course, plenty more Dominions. That will never end. Ever. As long as I'm alive. Which I still am alive, thankfully. And then that's it. No Exploring Series stuff. Alright. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. And I'll see you fine folks next week.